Hey everybody, it's Jeff, and here's what I've been doing recently on Workbench, where I stream my open source innovation work on Twitch. So I've been struggling with a problem that I've been working on mostly off stream this last week, trying to get an Objective-C bridge working in Go. So the last time I talked about this, I had found an abandoned incomplete library made half a decade ago that had the start of a usable Objective-C bridge. It just didn't work now because Go has gotten stricter about passing pointers with CGO. So all of this has to do with a function in the libObjective-C library called message send. And this is used for every method call to every object that you want to talk to in Objective-C. The first problem is that because it's used for any possible method call, it's a variadic function, and this isn't supported by CGO. The original author of this library made a library to fix this that makes it work with some assembly code. It's called variadic. It doesn't do much. It was made specifically to solve this problem with this this function. But the heart of it is this assembly code, which I'd have to learn assembly and learn this, and then I'd kind of maybe be able to reason about this. Does it work? Maybe, but the pointer problem is manifesting there, and I can't really reason about this, right, on top of not knowing if it actually works. So the first order of business was to replace this with a dumber alternative, just making a wrapper function calls for different argument numbers, right, and then switching between them based on the arguments that I have. And so I can do this up to however many arguments I want, and it eliminates that mysterious hack as potentially part of the problem, and then makes this a little easier to reason about, even if it is kind of like a dumber problem. So the next part, though, was trickier. Go will not let you pass a pointer to data that contains another Go pointer when you're working with CGO. So this might mean some more work later on, but my proof of concept code, which I think is here, which is a simple, it makes a window and starts an application. Like, that's all this does. It doesn't really have anything that points to pointers, right? The closest thing is this struct, but it's a struct of floats. Like, it doesn't point to anything, but I was still getting this error that I was passing a pointer to a pointer. So after some experimentation, finding some posts about similar-ish problems with this Go rule, I learned that some of the internal data structures that Go uses include pointers that will set this off. So the example that I found that there was a post on was with slices, which has an internal data structure that points to other things. The problem that I had was with empty interfaces. So if we were to actually look at the code that wraps send message, we take in arguments, right, as empty interfaces. They could be anything, and so we do a type switch for all the kind of built-in types to kind of do the right thing for them, but ultimately, and most of them were setting up an unsafe pointer. But with structs, there's a problem. We can't type assert to every possible struct type, right? So we use, or the author originally used reflection to even find out that it is a struct. And then once we have reflection, though, we can't, even with reflection, we can't get a version of the value that isn't an empty interface. Now, what they were doing was very specific to using that variadic thing, so I don't quite know what they were doing and how that applies to how I would do it. But basically, I had to do my own version, and the problem is, again, the empty interfaces internally has they seem like raw pointers, but they actually have their own. They maintain their underlying type. So an interface value is a pointer to two pointers, one to the value and one to the data type or type data. And this is what sets off the panic. We can't pass an empty interface value in CGO, which is the only way to pass an arbitrary struct. So eventually, some experimentation led to other problems that I looked up and led to posts that ultimately solved the problem. This piece of code right here unpacks an empty interface value into a struct that represents the internal data structure used by Go, which could change in the future but probably won't, and then grabs the pointer to the value part of it. So using this, I can actually take an empty interface and then get and pass something that doesn't have a pointer, and so then that works. So it's obvious in hindsight. Once I had this, I was able to get this proof of concept code to at least run. It doesn't work entirely. A window is not displayed. And there's some weird warnings or something that I haven't been able to figure out. But there's no explicit errors that stop it from running. And I know an NS application was started because you can see it in the task switcher here, and it even has an empty OSX menu. So it does work. And now I have other problems that I need to figure out. But anyway, this is progress. That's it for now. Let me know if you have thoughts or questions in the comments. Subscribe if you'd like to continue to follow along, and or you can join me on Twitch Tuesdays and Thursdays when I work on this stuff regularly. Thanks for watching.